Okay, good evening. Good evening. They don't know it's evening, right? So I'm just going to start with hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us to this episode.
This must be one.
Huh?
Episode one.
Episode one.
Yeah, we can do it one.
Let's do it like this.
Do it one.
Lord!
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us to our first episode. Today I have a co-host with me. His name is Vic.
Nice to meet you guys.
Vic is pretty much a co-worker with us. He's with us in Acadia Design Consultants, a colleague. This episode is because a lot of people, Vic, as you know, ask us a lot of questions about zoning bylaws, building codes.
True.
What is that all about? We have a lot of clients calling us constantly asking about specifically that.
Mm-hmm.
I find that this is something that over the past 20 years
Right.
of our experience in Acadia Design Consultants, I think it's time to try and explain people what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to make sure that people that contact designers, that contact contractors, so that they know at least how to find out what their zoning bylaws are,
Right.
what can or cannot they,
Like where to
what
find
they
sources.
can or cannot build,
Right.
all the sources exactly. So, I guess what we're gonna do today, we pretty much going to answer just broad questions. We're not gonna go a lot into details of how to calculate everything and
Exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
But we will talk a little bit about zoning bylaws, how to make sure that you're avoiding issues in construction.
Right. Some people, right?
Yeah.
To avoid
Yeah. How to make
Right.
applications to the city. Stuff
of
like that.
Ontario.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
Ontario
yeah.
specifically.
Well, in Ontario. So you can go to any municipality in Ontario and pretty much you would be able to apply that to those municipalities.
Right on.
So,
Yeah,
Vic,
thanks a lot.
you
Yeah.
have some questions prepared for.
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay,
But first of
so-
all, it's my pleasure to coming up to the podcast. I'm pretty happy about it, and also asking Max about the questions. This is my pleasure. My pleasure and
Perfect.
pleasure.
It's great having you.
Yeah. All right.
I think we got a great chemistry when it comes to being on camera. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's
All
give
right.
the people what they're looking for.
All right.
Let's start
So
answering some
actually, I
questions.
got some question here around
Perfect.
like 1 to 12 questions, but we
Perfect.
don't have to go through all of them. And yeah, just let me start for the first one, right? So the first question here on the list that we discuss about is that here we go. I really want to talk about like a little bit about the building permits and the process to obtain a permit in Ontario, right? And what about the average homeowner should be aware of when they apply for the
Yeah,
permit?
that's a great question. So there's a couple of things, first of all, that you should know when obtaining a building permit. Many people ask, what do we even need in order to apply for a building permit? Everybody knows that you need, for example, drawings, which we'll get to a little bit later. But really, every municipality in Ontario
Right.
would have their own section on their website that would pretty much explain to you what exactly you need, like a checklist.
Okay.
So first of all, when applying for a building permit, you have to go as per this checklist because what happens is it's a technical thing, right? If you don't
Right.
have your checklist and everything as per this list applied, they will not even review your application.
Right.
So we have a lot of people that would go to the municipality, right, with sketches, with drawings, and they're like,
This is not on the checklist, kind of.
yeah, right?
Oh, wow.
They will try to apply for permits.
Right.
And they would come in and they would say, okay, we have drawings. We know that we can apply with those drawings and get permits. And, and they would be sent away. Because really, if you look into the checklist, you would see that it's not only sketches. You would need, let's say, for an example, if you're doing permits for a new build, a new construction, new house, right? You would need to prepare site plan, elevations, sections, regular plans of the
Right.
house, all that.
Okay.
But besides that, you also need mechanical drawings to show HVAC systems. You need well, not always, depending on which municipality.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need plumbing drawings, and some applications that needs to be pretty much, done with that as well.
So you would say it's going to be a lot of like documents, right? Like over
It's a lot of
10,
documents exactly that
12
people
maybe.
don't know about and get frustrated.
Yeah.
Not because they don't know about it. I find that people are frustrated because the municipalities are not able to explain to them what is that needed.
Right.
So I'm pretty much always saying to everybody, as you know, in the office,
Yeah.
when they start a new application, you go online. If you do an application, let's say for, I don't know, any kind of project in the city of Hamilton, let's say not a new build, let's say
Like a renovation.
a renovation, interior
building.
renovation, or like
Okay.
secondary unit that we, let's say, start building. I would say go online and check what are the requirements. And then if you are as a homeowner, you understand that you have those requirements.
Right.
And you submit all the applications that necessary, all the drawings. Maybe those are not the best sketches out there, but maybe those sketches are actually as per the requirements necessary. You might actually get something done. But most of the time, you would probably want to find a consultant like
Right.
us,
Okay.
that knows what needs to be done and to
Right.
do it on your behalf. Because at the end of the day, yes, it could be a frustrating process if you don't know what to do.
So theoretically, you can do it by yourself. I mean, individually.
So as per the codes, yes, you as a homeowner,
You can
not
do
a
it.
contractor, but as a homeowner, you
Okay.
could theoretically apply for the permits in your own house. So you have two ways of doing it. One way, you hire somebody, and then you need professional
Like us, kind of.
drawings and applications, exactly like what we do.
Yeah.
Or if you do the renovations yourself. So if you're a homeowner, for example, that want to do some interior renovations on your own, theory says that you could go and apply for permits on your own.
Right.
The question is, how do you approach it?
Approached it. And what kind of renovation is mandatory for permit? Just asking, like
So,
the size
yeah.
and what kind of, because I'm pretty sure if you do this kind of, repair of your, like some places, maybe you don't need any permit, right?
So it really depends. I always try and explain people that every time when you disturb a certain system in a building, it needs a permit. And I will explain myself.
Like a whole,
If you do something structural, clearly you disturb the structural system, you need a permit. Meaning, if you want to remove load-bearing wall, if you want to,
like a backyard
to do your
anyway?
bathroom,
Okay.
right? We're not talking about exterior.
Oh, okay.
We're talking
More
about
into
interior
interior right now. Okay.
So you need permits for that. If you disturb the plumbing system, so again, systems. When you disturb systems, you move a sink somewhere else, you disturb your plumbing system.
Right.
You need a permit for that. Again, if you just remove your bathroom, for example, if you're renovating a bathroom,
Yeah.
and you remove all the fixtures, but then you put everything back in place just to change some tiles, to paint, whatever, that can go without a permit, right? You're just changing finishes.
Right.
Moving stuff and redoing plumbing piping, that definitely requires a permit. Same with HVAC. Again, HVAC system. As soon as you modify some of the system, you need to have a permit because now you need to make sure that the system, after being modified, is sufficient for the house.
For the house. Okay.
Right? And the last system that probably you would need a permit for is insulation, R value. So many people open the exterior wall and change their insulation. Usually by code, you should not be disturbing any of these assemblies because they were permitted at a certain time back in the day based on previous codes.
Right.
So as soon as you do that, now you have to unfortunately upgrade your wall, which not always it's simple, but this is something for a different episode.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now I kind of gradually knowing how the permits, work in Ontario, especially here in Ontario right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good. I have another question here, like the second one. So, what is your opinion? The most common reasons, right? Building permit application got delayed, one, or denied in
denied,
Ontario.
yeah.
Delayed or denied.
So there are a few reasons. There is the homeowner aspect, there is a consultant aspect, and there's a municipal aspect.
Okay.
So we can start with the homeowner aspect.
Okay.
So as pretty much per what we discussed previously, situation happened that you submit something to the municipality and it's just not sufficient. Respectfully to homeowners out there, they don't really know what needs to be submitted. Usually they would listen to, the front desk. They would tell them what needs to be done.
Right.
And they would do it, and it would not be sufficient. They would go back and forth, which eventually creates frustration.
Yeah.
So homeowner can be a huge aspect of why applications sometimes are not being accepted.
Because they have no idea how to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, they're not professional, and
They try to save
Right.
money, which eventually,
yeah.
unfortunately, spends them more money. So, for an example, if you're trying to have an application for a secondary unit in your house, secondary unit is a business.
Right.
Unfortunately, homeowners don't approach it as as that. They approach it as extra income.
Right.
But if you realize that a secondary unit is a business, then you understand that every month that you don't get a tenant, you lose money.
Right. Yeah. True.
So what happens is a lot of homeowners will try to submit, applications and drawings on their own, and they would go to the city. The city will deny the drawings, and they would go again, and after
deny it again.
and exactly, and they will give them a little bit more information what needs to be done, a little bit more. Which, by the way, I always, when I used to teach in the college, I always told my students that when you approach the municipalities, an answer is only as good as the question. So if you don't know how to ask the right question,
They won't let you
you
know.
will get the wrong answer. So if you come in, for an example, and ask, can I build a house on this property? Yes, you can. The question is, what needs to be done in order to build a house on this property?
Yes.
What are the zoning bylaws? What do I need for building permits and stuff like that? But we'll go back to what we were talking
Yeah.
about.
Like delayed and
Yeah. So again, human aspect. That's
The
one.
homeowner.
The homeowner. Yes.
right.
That's one thing that could be a problem.
Right.
Second problem is a consultant. Unfortunately, sometimes a homeowner picks the wrong consultant.
Unprofessionally.
Usually it's-
Incompetent individuals or companies. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. Usually what happens is somebody younger that charges less, that you think that you're going to save money with them. And eventually what happens, you actually...
Spend extra penny on.
so think
those
about it this way,
applications. Right.
You get company A would give you X amount of money for your job. You get
Right.
company B would give you half an X. And you think, okay, that's great. Let's pick company B with half an X. But company B doesn't know how to do it right 100%. So what happened is they pretty much getting paid by you to train. And they go to the city and they get denied. They go to the city again, they get denied. They waste a couple of months out of your life.
Like.
And those couple of
Right.
months, that's 2 or 3 months less that you're going to get in your rent. If you were to get the experienced company.
Maybe you pay more,
and
but
paid a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you would have saved out of those 3 months, maybe 2 to 2.5 extra months. So this is something that unfortunately is not out there. And this is something that not every client understand. But I'm really, really trying to promote that not always the cheapest guy. Well,
like contractors.
yeah, not always
yeah,
the
like,
cheapest person would do
consultants.
the best job when it
Right.
comes to consulting. Yes.
Right. Right.
And of course, there's the municipal aspect. Unfortunately, what we found happening a lot in the past, I would say more than a couple of years, incompetency in the municipality.
Really?
Yes.
Like how so? Would you mind like elaborate more? Like.
Yes. So what happens is a lot of, again, as much as I hate that word, COVID, But during COVID,
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of professionals that were in the municipality for many, many years, they retired. They decided to quit and retire.
Oh,
What happens that all the municipalities needed to hire
like a new
consultants, new employees as fast
new
as
employees.
possible.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you find now young employees that are not trained, that pretty much
They're now on
need
the-
to
Yeah.
that need to check drawings, and they're not 100% familiar with building codes
Mm.
or zoning bylaws. So what happens now?
Right.
There's a lot of misunderstanding, and there's a lot of
Like this
I could
communication
say
between.
silly arguments that are happening between between consultants and municipalities.
Oh, it happens.
Right? Yes, it happens.
Was it like a lot? Like quite
Well,
a
you know
few
what?
times, or
I would say that it's grew in the past couple of years. It definitely grew.
oh,
But
okay.
again, our job as consultants to do the best job we can,
Mm-hmm.
and we just need to make sure that everything is being reviewed, accepted, and that common sense, that building code
Building co-
eventually wins, and not just common sense.
right? Okay. Question.
There's
here.
a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Question here. So, have you ever been to any argument with municipality? Just general, because you mentioned, right? You mentioned like
Yes.
like quite a few consultants
Yes.
out there have an argument.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you, Max?
I can give you an example if that's
Okay.
what you're looking for.
Nice.
There's a lot of examples going on. So, for an example,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but in the past, I think
Before COVID, or like
in the past year,
Okay.
sometimes in the past
the
year,
last year. Uh-huh.
the city of Toronto allowed up to 4 apartments in a house.
Oh,
So
okay.
theoretically, you can have a fourplex in many parts of the city, which is great. Now, the reason they're doing that in order to achieve, more housing, because we need more housing.
people. Yeah.
The future plan of the city of Toronto supports more housing, and that's what they want to get for. The problem is that when you come to the city to apply, when you apply for permits, submit the applications, definitions are very important. Now, when you get a building that is more than 3 apartments, theoretically, it's considered to be as an apartment building.
Right.
Because it's an apartment building, it becomes the fire
Like an alarm system.
rules. The fire rules. I'm
Okay.
just trying not to use
Like
different terms, but-
terminology. Yeah.
But the fire rules are much more strict on
Fourplex.
on apartment buildings than on residential buildings.
Really?
So now,
Okay.
because as soon as you do 3 apartments and up, even for a triplex, you have to comply with those rules, which you don't need to comply for a residential building. Because clearly you have more apartments, it's obvious that you can have more fire. But the problem is that they created redundant rules in order to get that done. So on one hand,
Okay.
they want affordable housing. On the other hand, they make it very difficult on you to actually build it, because they would ask you to modify. For example, if you have 2 semi-detached buildings and there's a partition wall in between, they would ask you to modify it. I'm not going to go into the details. To modify something like that costs a lot of money,
Right.
right? To fire it many walls, to fire it many windows, which makes it almost not really affordable for developers. Now, usually when developers pay that money, eventually it gets into your rent.
That's a good
Right?
point right there.
Somebody
yeah.
has to
That's a
pay
good
for
point. Yeah.
So that's where redundancy start with, for example, affordable housing. But besides that, when you apply for permits and submit the drawings, they ask you a lot of things that not always necessary. And you have to argue a lot and show them different building code sections that would argue otherwise. Now, while you're doing that, you're wasting 2 to 3 months sometimes.
Yeah.
Now you have an upset client.
Yeah.
Go explain to them that the municipality doesn't want to
they're
give you the
not
permits for no
now-
reason.
Right.
And what happens is after those 3 months, all of a sudden they're telling you,
No,
yeah,
it's
okay,
not right.
you know what? No. They actually will tell you, okay, you know what? I talked to my manager
Yeah.
after you requested that, and we're going to give you the permit. But meanwhile,
And you wasted,
they
like,
wasted
2-3 months already.
exactly of your life, which means, think about it this way. If you got a triplex in the city of Toronto,
Right.
and assuming in average you're charging for $2,500 per apartment, you got 3 apartments multiplied by 2 to 3 months. How much money did you just lose? Or let's not call it lose, did not make.
Right.
Meanwhile, you paid more for renovations, you paid more to the city, and
Yeah.
yes.
You
But
lost.
that's again a different question.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You lost basically 9 months of rent and you spend
Not-
more.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like roughly maximum, I don't know, like 9 months. And yeah, like raw material fee and
Of
like
course,
a lot of resources
you're
being
absolutely
allocated.
correct. What
Yeah,
about
yeah.
construction fee,
Those are-
replacing windows,
yeah.
replacing? There's a lot going
You're
on.
losing a lot of opportunity costs just right there.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
But again, it's our job at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
as good consultants. It's really our job
Which is ours.
to yes, to fight for our client. Meaning,
Right.
at the end of the day, we will reduce most of those
Most of
requirements,
Mm.
and that's what an experienced, consultant and a contractor
Should
does.
do, right?
Because at the end of the day, reducing some of those requirements, saving the client sometimes thousands, if not depending how big the project is, then thousands of dollars, which I rather than invest into finishes,
Right.
better kitchens, better finishes,
Yeah.
better repaint everything if we're looking into, an interior renovation. This is something that, again, a good design build company, consultant, contractor should always think about. At the end of the day, where does the client, where do we save the money so that the client can put it into something else?
And turn those clients to happy clients.
Yeah,
That's the whole. Yeah, that's the whole purpose.
Definitely,
That's the whole
definitely.
purpose.
That's the purpose.
That's the whole
Thank
purpose.
you for reminding me.
Yeah.
That's really
Happy
the purpose.
client.
Happy client.
Happy client. Exactly. Okay, so I have another question here. Like the third question
Go for it.
down on my list is, so how do Ontario's building permit regulations impact small and versus large builders, like small versus large, and the homeowners when purchasing, like when buying the property?
Yeah, that's actually the $1 million question. Literally.
Really?
Okay, let me explain to you. Yeah. So what happens is there's a lot of regulations
Right.
in the city. What you need to understand when a small or a large contractor building anything, let's talk for a second about mid-size condominium, 6-story building. Let's assume with 6 apartments on each floor.
Okay.
What happens is when a builder submit an application to the city to build that, to get permits to build that building, they have to go first through a certain amount of time until they get a permit. That
Right.
could take our days up to couple of years.
Wait, a couple of years.
You have to go through development department, zoning department,
to
committee of adjustment, sometimes to change some bylaws to make sure that everything works, building department, and all that is pretty much communication until they actually approve what you're proposing. You pretty much submit a proposal, they need to approve it. So clearly, that time, the mortgage on the property, the payment on the property, the time that it's in the city, all that eventually is being divided by the apartments. When you buy an
4 to 5,
apartment,
yeah.
this is all part of your payment. Now, this is minor. This is normal.
right.
Well, not the timing. I mean, the application. It's normal thing.
Right.
But now add to it, when you apply for permits, you have fees.
Right.
So you would have educational charges. Those are being paid per apartment.
Right.
You have development charges. You have a charge that's called park levy charge, which is a huge charge. It's based on the value of
The home?
the building
The building.
divided
Gotcha.
per apartments.
Right.
So what happens is, and this is what happens throughout Ontario right now, not Ontario, throughout Canada, but I will not expand to Canada as I have my Ontario experience and we build here in Ontario, not in Canada. But what happens is that throughout Ontario, you would find that prices are jumping almost more than doubled, almost
Wow.
tripled for the past, let's say, 7, 8, 9 years.
That's insane.
So, and this is the reason, because at the end of the day, if I'm a builder and I'm building a building and I need to pay those fees, when I'm selling those apartments to people, unfortunately, it has to be covered. And really, what people, people understand, of course, but it is what it is. That's how it is right now. That when you are paying for an apartment, you're probably paying 1/3 of it just in those fees.
Really?
Yes. Almost 1/3.
Almost
Just in those
1/3.
fees. Yes. And this is something that
Wow.
is difficult, right? But this is pretty much explains how the construction industry, small builders, large builders are being affected, and how eventually the snowball effect gets to the homeowner, the buyer,
Right.
right?
Right.
And same, with the homeowner. When you are building, let's say, when you're dividing a home into 4 apartments, you're going to have the same charges. So think about it this way.
Right.
You are a regular person, right? You just bought a property which you want to have it as an investment. You're thinking, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to divide it for 4 apartments
And rent it out.
and rent it out.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you have to apply for permits, and then you realize that you have a charge, park levy charge, that costs you 10% of the value of the home.
10%. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, or you have $7,000-8,000 of worth of educational charges, because whoever is going to be living in this apartment will need to use the communities, the
Amenities
centers, the amenities,
and-
everything,
yeah.
and schools, right? So
Yeah.
and then you have development charges, because as soon as you build, again, definitions. You remember I was telling you about those definitions. As soon as you build something called apartment building, now you're not a homeowner anymore. You're a developer.
Right.
And as a developer, there's no difference between you're a developer that builds 4 small apartments or you're a developer that builds a
The
condominium.
whole building. Yeah. Right.
You're both going to pay. Right?
Oh.
And unfortunately, this is what influences the rent, right? Because eventually, okay, if I paid so much money into getting the permits and into getting construction,
So those spending
somebody
there-
has to pay everything back to me. The question is,
Yeah.
how fast is that going to happen? So the rent eventually is the builders the prices of the
right.
builders are being influenced by this bureaucracy.
Right.
And of course, rent and the
Will also
cost
spike it up.
of buying something also being influenced by that.
Right.
Again, partially.
Partially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because wow. So those expenses, like extra expenditure, they are like layer by layer, right? Like stack it up together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I have another question for you.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So there are many cases, right? There are many cases of construction without permits.
Yes.
Quite a few,
Yes.
especially in Ontario, I suppose. But not only Ontario, like every provinces maybe.
Yeah. In every
Right.
province is the
So
same thing.
yeah,
All
so
over the world,
all
people
over the
build
world,
without-
exactly,
without
exactly.
permits.
In Asia, whatever, Europe, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. But what are the consequences? I'm not saying all around the world, but I'm asking specifically here in Ontario.
Yeah.
Like the consequences
That's a
if you
great
don't
question.
have any permits.
That's a great question, because we do have a lot of people that would call us and ask, Max, what can we do? We have those issues. We built. So you got two kind of people. You
Okay.
got two kind of situations. You got the situations of,
I
the
don't
really the innocent person
Yeah.
who built something and thought, this is my property, this is my house, I should be able to do whatever I want on my property. Wrong. That's not the case.
No.
It's funny because I always tell my clients that
Yeah.
when they're telling me, well, I own this property, it's my house. I'm like, well, no, this house belonged to the municipality, but you own the air. You really bought the air that you're breathing. The rest belongs to the
Yeah,
municipality.
because the land, right? It still
Yeah.
belongs to,
Well, no, because really everything you want to do, you need to get a permit.
true.
Of course, when, as I said, when you do finishes, you don't. But mainly everything starting with,
Building a whole brand new structure, whatever.
you know, you want an addition, you want a mudroom, you want a shed. Of course, a certain size. We're not going to go into it. But you want a shed, you want a canopy, you want a cabana, you want a pool. You need to have a permit. You cannot do anything without having the municipal permits.
Right.
So, but yeah, pretty much. So, person number one is a person who would build without a permit because they just didn't know, you know, innocently. Person number two, it's somebody who wanted to take a chance. You know,
Take
they
a
would take it.
chance?
Yeah. You know, listen. Sometimes you
Whoa.
do renovations in your house.
Yeah.
You know, and
But question here, what if, let's say, you know, like your neighbor reported, you know, if it's like way
so
too
this
noisy.
is person number two.
Oh, it's
This is person number two. So the person that likes to take chance, usually, again, two things happen. Either they succeed, like a lot of people finish their basements, they don't apply for permits. But some
and people
you know,
complain.
yeah, but some, you know, all of a sudden the neighbors complain and an inspector would come to your house. Whether if you are still doing the construction, they would just stop your construction.
But what if you finished?
If you finish, they will
wondering.
give you a work order, work order still, and it's called order to comply. And you have 30 days to apply for permit.
Oh,
Yeah, so you have 30 days to apply for permits, or eventually the city will take legal actions against you.
wow.
Now, the worst
Penalty.
part is, let's talk about that kind of person.
Okay.
The worst part is that usually when you hire somebody to do construction without permits, you don't do it as per all the codes. Every contractor will come to your house and tell you, we do everything as per code. They're not really familiar with all the codes, with all the small stuff, you know, like all the R
Yeah, like
values,
those are trivial stuff.
which brings to the point that as soon as you got that complaint, an inspector comes to your house and you invested, let's say you finished the basement, you invested $80,000, $90,000. What do? You demolish it.
Really?
Not all of it, but now all of a sudden your ceiling assembly is incorrect. You have to redo it. All of a sudden the
again.
R value, the insulation in the walls is not sufficient. You have to redo that. You know, and at the end of the day, the city doesn't care how much money you invested, and you're in trouble. So, so again, to answer your question, what happens when you build without permits? You can get yourself into this trouble. Now, when that happens, you would be required to hire a firm like ours, consulting firm, that would come in, check what was done, whether it was done correctly or not. If it was done correctly, you're lucky. Because you know what? I'm not gonna lie, some contractors are, you know, you come in, you check, and they actually know their codes. Not a lot of them, but some do. So great. So here then we would come in, we would do some small modifications. You know, anyways, I'm not gonna go too much into details.
Okay.
But unfortunately, most of cases are terrifying because what happens is people have to reopen walls, people have to reopen ceilings, redo all the drywall, and that can cost up to $40,000.
$40,000.
Yeah, usually it's around $30,000 to $40,000 to do the small modifications to bring it up to code. And at this point, you have no choice anymore because you invested so much money into the basement.
Into the whole,
You're going to invest more to make it right, which just frustrated you as a homeowner. So all the homeowners out there, my personal suggestion to you, try to make sure that you're getting permits
permit.
before you start renovations.
Right.
And funny enough, we had an administrator long time ago, an office admin.
Okay.
She was amazing. Her name was Maggie. Her name is Maggie, I hope. And Maggie was saying, we still use that saying, She said, if you think it's expensive to build with a permit, wait until you build without one.
Wow.
Right? So what people don't understand that eventually permits are more expensive. Permits that they think that are more expensive actually are cheaper.
Right.
Because when you have to redo stuff, that costs you a lot of money.
So question here, you said permit. So how much is for the application? Like around? Roughly.
So I'll tell you what,
For
every
one
application is different. I'm
Based
not
on the
really
building,
going to go,
Based on building?
based on square footage, based on building
okay.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into that.
Too many
This is
detail,
something that is every homeowner should,
look it up.
if they have these questions, they can always,
Ask consultants about it. Yeah.
call us, ask us.
Yeah.
We're out there to answer all those questions. But I wouldn't worry about that because it's a full spectrum of what kind of construction you're doing, what the square footage of construction, and all that.
Right. Because you mentioned about if you finish, right? And the speculator did not approve.
Who?
Not speculator,
The
but
inspector.
inspector, exactly. Like those inspector, they did not approve for like your home, right? Like the whole renovation under your basement. And you said you need to demolish them, right? But they send people to actually go inside your home and
that's not how it works. The city will
it's
not
such an
send
amateur question, but I just want to ask.
the city.
So
just to
just
explain
curious,
to everybody,
just curious.
Vic is part of our company in the marketing department.
Yes.
Okay, to all of you that think whether or not we're keeping consultants that are not familiar with the situation. Yes, but no. What happens is no, they're not sending inspectors to demolish anything. What they do is they pretty much ask you nicely to demolish. They will get back in a month. If you didn't do anything, they will ask you, okay, did you start the process of permits? If you did, usually company, like ours that kind of started the first phase of construction, which is permits, would right away contact the inspector and let them know that, listen, we're on the application.
It's fine.
We're good. It's fine. They usually would have us extra time. Talking to our company, they understand that we're on top of it. That's our job. And they give us the extra time. But if the homeowner did not start any
Like application.
process, then they give another warning. After that warning, because we have a lot of situations. So sometimes it's even funny. People think that we're going to slip it off, and it will disappear.
Yeah, and finger crossed. They'll
Yeah.
right?
That's not how it works, right? But people are like, let's just ignore it. Maybe it will go away. But no, this is not the case. So what happens is, most of the time they would get a court. Not most of the time, sometimes they would get a court notice.
Court notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's quite serious.
Yeah. And of course, you don't want the city to spend time on their lawyers because of your case, because that might cost you.
Oh yeah.
Eventually, somebody going to have to pay for it.
So you have to pay for the city of hiring a lawyer to sue you.
No. You don't
Is
pay
that
to
like
the
that?
city to hire
Right.
a lawyer. The city has their own law team on payroll,
Wow.
right?
So you're
and
basically
their job
done.
is, if you're being
So
sued.
basically done.
So anyways, I'll tell you what, in my experience, I did not have too many cases of those because eventually people are smart enough to understand that,
Oh, thank
okay,
God.
we probably shouldn't play around
Thank God.
anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yes, we did have situations where cities sue clients. We do have a couple of clients that are in a lawsuit with the city, even though the permits are pretty
And
much
wow.
there. Well, but sometimes also the city will drop the claim because at the end of the day, it costs them more money to sue
To
you,
sue-
right?
True.
They don't really need that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically the question about permit, and I have the last one. The last
Okay.
question for you
All right.
is So how can homeowners expedite the building permit process, and what common mistake should they avoid during the application?
Great question. So most of it we kind of discussed already. My suggestion is for you homeowners out there, and it's not in our interest just to get all the work in the world, but really my suggestion is to hire a competent consultant, not to try and not
here.
to try and
right here.
avoid. Thank you. Yes, not to try and avoid that by cutting costs and or getting a cheaper consultant,
Right.
and or trying to do things yourself. I know it's allowed. It is allowed. But there is a reason why we're out there. There is a reason why good companies like ours, I hope we are. Some
definitely
people
we
say
are.
we are, right?
Yeah, definitely we are.
So there is a reason why many companies like ours are there on the market,
Right.
because that's our job. You're not gonna go if you have court if you're going to court for any offense. You're not gonna go without defense. You know, when you have a professional prosecutor sitting against you, you're just not gonna do that,
Right.
Because you're gonna lose. You need a lawyer. You need a defense team, right?
Right.
It's common sense. Not always just because you were blamed, meaning you are guilty. So this is the same thing. I always explain, we are the lawyers for construction,
Right.
for architecture, right? The team in our company, their job, well, the design team, their job is literally just to know the bylaws, just to know the building codes,
Right.
just to know what to advise to clients to make sure that, you know, again, if you're building a house and you bought a property and you're paying mortgage, it's just common sense. First, faster you get the permits, faster you start the build, less you pay empty money for the mortgage.
Yeah, reasonable.
Right?
Right.
So with that being said, to avoid issues is first of all to get the right consultants, and second of all to understand that when you're approaching building permits,
Yeah.
you should approach them as a businessman. And the reason I'm saying that is if you approach them as a homeowner, let's try save a certain penny,
Right.
you're going to lose it later in construction. So, and I will give you an example.
Okay.
You can get a small designer. Of course, it's going to take them longer to get you a permit. Of course, you lost 3-4 months in construction, okay, in payments. Okay, but they're still cheaper. So maybe you lost a couple of grand, not a big deal, not a big deal. But then also this person maybe is not as experienced when it comes to structural aspects.
Right.
So if you need a beam in your home, I can propose a beam that costs X amount of money. They will propose a beam with lack of experience that costs more.
Right.
Now, you as a homeowner, you will never know that. But paying somebody experienced 15-20% more for permits for the applications, you need to understand permits, it's a contract between you, the
And-
city, and the contractor.
Right.
Right? Everything as per these permits needs to be built. So the last thing you want is somebody creating a design for you without knowledge that will cost you in construction 20-30% extra than what an experienced person could propose. You have structural design, you have mechanical design, you have architectural design, you have mechanical is plumbing and HVAC. So all those aspects, when they are done by a professional who knows what they're proposing,
Which they have the better
they
resources
exactly, they save you a lot more money.
than, like those
And then you're thinking,
amateur designer, right?
yeah,
Because
and then
lack
you're
of resources.
Yeah, you're thinking,
Definitely.
okay, X designer cost $6,000, let's
Right.
say for a small project.
Okay.
Y designer cost $8,000. But then X designer with the $6,000 will propose construction design that will cost $30,000. And Y designer will propose the same kind of construction with different materials, with different equipment, with different strategies,
Right.
$20,000. So you paid 4, 3, whatever, 2,000 less, you lost 10 in construction. And you will never know because eventually contractors quote as per what they see. So
Right.
when I'm getting a contractor, when I'm getting drawings for a quote from my clients, I'm looking at it, I'm going to quote everything as per the drawings. So if this drawing is done, for example, if somebody sends us for interior renovation,
Okay.
and on the drawing there's a beam, a steel beam, big steel beam, we need like 6 to 8 people,
To,
and you've seen it not too
yeah.
long ago. We need like
the
6
last
to 8
months.
people to elevate it.
Yeah.
But it could be designed with a wood beam where you would need 2 to 3 people to elevate, and wood beam would cost you $800 in materials,
Yeah.
versus steel cost you $2,500 in materials. Now you're spending thousands of dollars and you don't even know that. You're spending thousands of dollars literally on the beam, which is the material. You're spending on the labor,
Like more people
which is the
too.
installation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't even know that. So it's difficult to explain homeowners that it's kind of they're telling you, well, yeah, how do I know that? But it's a fact. It's a fact. You get, they would think, oh, you are a more organized, bigger company. This is a one-man operation. He will do it for cheaper.
Right.
Of course he will. But this one-man operation will give you a set of drawings that will cost you more. And then you will hire a contractor. And this contractor will work based on not the best set of drawings, which now increase your construction by a couple of more months.
Right.
And all of a sudden you lost like 5 to 6 months of construction.
So basically, like running back and forth between drawing contractors like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then company that would charge a little bit more would save you this 5-6 months in construction,
Oh yeah, definitely.
which would save you much more money. So unfortunately, what I'm saying is when you are applying for building permits, look at it from the perspective of business. The idea is you have to have the base so that it gives you the biggest return on investment.
Right.
In construction, faster you do things,
Right.
more money you make, and or don't lose.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's very important.
So, yeah, like that's about us. You know?
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, that's about us. So, just like Max just mentioned, you need to hire a competent and more experienced, the construction design consultant firm, which is ours. So, yeah, right.
Thank you for that. Thank
yeah,
you for
this
advertising.
whole conclusion.
But overall, yes, this is what we would suggest. It's unfortunately the opposite from what the average Joe would think. That's what would save more money.
Right. Exactly. So, you want to do one more questions, or I mean, we still have
sure.
we still have one more.
Let's
we
go
still
for
have
it.
one more. Okay.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, we still have one more because I feel
Go
like
for it.
we still have time. Okay, so this one is about like building code, like the one you
Okay,
mentioned.
go for it.
So would be what measures, right? What measures are in place to ensure that builders and contractors comply with the
Great question.
Ontario Building Code during constructions?
So pretty much what you're saying is, what measures are there to make sure that construction is done up to code?
Exactly.
Yeah, great question. So there are few measures that you have. Of course, speaking to those who applied for building permits, actually. So the measures are, first of all, of course, at any process of construction, there are city inspections. So when you have, again, let's talk again about a building, right? A new home. You build the foundation, you get the inspection done.
Right.
Not only, actually, you frame everything, you make it ready for concrete. You would see the city coming in to make sure that it's done correctly,
Right.
even before that. And then you pour concrete. And then you do framing, you got inspection. You do HVAC, rough-ins, you got inspection. So there are inspections throughout every stage of construction.
Right.
But I'm not going to lie to you. Inspectors might miss something small here and there. That's why, of
small
course, you
detail,
want the
yeah.
right companies to do your construction.
Yeah.
It happens. And or sometimes inspectors will tell you, well, listen, great. Ask your engineer to come back and sign off on it. So they don't want to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Which that's
apparently.
their job. Go
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
Okay. They have a job of being inspector, but they don't want to
But they
inspect.
don't want to.
But anyways, this is a different story.
Yeah.
This is a different episode. But anyways, yeah, this is really the situation. And so you have the inspections.
Yeah.
But then, homeowners that care about their home and care about the construction, again, that's where return on investment is important or not important to you. You can, call your consultant.
Yeah.
Again, when we're doing construction, because we're a design build company, that's the win-win for our clients. We do, we're not going to pay ourselves to bring ourselves on site.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to be on site to review the job. This is part of the construction quote. That's not a problem.
Yes.
But for those who hired a different consultant and different contractor, yes, you would maybe want to pay some money to your consultant to come back on site, to the engineer, to actually check all the framing, to check that everything is done as per their design, and to make sure that it's done right. And they would check everything all the way to the fasteners, what kind of screws you're using, and that kind of stuff. But again, in our case, it's not a problem because we are the designer, we're the builder, which means that our client doesn't even worry about anything.
Right.
We would when we finish the framing, we call the inspector would come in. Usually our engineer or designer, depending on what kind of inspection, would be on site to pass the inspection so that, the construction doesn't need to stop and nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And we just conduct our inspections on our own.
Wow.
And if letters or whatever needs to be done, it just included. That's the benefit of having a company also a
Experienced
consultant.
company. Yeah. Experienced.
Well, and again,
Definitely.
when your consultant, when your designer is also the builder,
Yeah.
the builder will not come and ask you, pay me more money to get the designer because they will not come for free.
Right.
So in our case, that's not the case because we're the designer, we're the builder. We would be on site for every inspection.
Wow. So it's kind of the full services, the full service. Yeah. I do design. I go to the home and speculating for you.
Yeah.
And like
So
pass a
usually-
permit for you as well.
Usually a client would call us in when they have an idea of building something.
Okay.
So we would come in this stage. We would explain to them about the main two phases of construction, which is the paperwork, legalization, and the permit, and the construction itself.
Right.
So they would come to us all the way from stage one, where we would create the drawings, create all the applications, submit everything to the city,
Right.
and make sure that, everything is approved. Meanwhile, of course, discussing all the construction stage, which is because based on the drawings, the engineering that was submitted to the city already,
Right.
we would be able to discuss the costs, what kind of systems are going to be used because the engineering is
Yeah,
done.
which is important. Yeah. Especially the cost.
Exactly. And pretty much to make sure that we're ready for construction. Because when you start construction, many people don't understand. It's not like it's me, myself, and my hammer. Gonna come in and start
and knock those down.
knocking everything
knock
down.
those wood down.
Yeah. Not like that. In our case, it's actually you have to create. First of all, we have a construction schedule that we have to create to make sure that we are on top of it. Right? We don't just approach it as a contractor, me, myself, and my hammer kind of contractor. Okay, today framing is done. Let's go
Let's
and
go
start HVAC. It's not like that.
Right.
We do many things at the same time, which saves a lot of on times because we have a team that manages it offsite, which means we save a lot of time.
Right.
It's not like the contractor has to do, contractors when after doing construction during the day, they get back home, they have to do a lot of emails, strategies, about what are we going to do tomorrow, what's the next step is. It's a lot of work. Usually you miss stuff.
Yeah.
But when you have a team working, you don't miss stuff. And when you don't miss stuff, that's where you don't lose money. You gain on your schedule. And believe it or not, which happens, you can even try and finish before schedule, right?
Right.
So that's why the schedule is very important. This is something that we do in Acadia as well to make sure that, the plumber doesn't show up and
just
steps on the on the electrician's feet while they're working. Yeah. So that's important.
Right.
Or on their tail. But yeah, the bottom line is schedules are important, and of course the construction quote, and the most important part, which people think that I'm not going to go with an established good size company. I wouldn't say, because we're not even medium. We're still small size construction company. Medium size, like more like Bird Construction, the bigger ones that do commercials more. But you would think that this construction company is going to be more expensive, but due to the organization, due to the lack of issues, you actually gain. And what happens is you will not find a lot of extra charges, believe it or not.
Right.
Which will happen to, a smaller contractor. Oh, yeah, by the way, we didn't discuss that. Oh, we didn't discuss this. Oh, no. Tiles, we only talked about not base. You want to avoid that.
Right.
You want a company that will give you a full construction quote as per your budget. And when the budget is done, that means that your construction is done. Right. Or the other way around. When the construction is done, you're done within this budget. Unless, of course, because many homeowners would add, scope. That's a different story, right?
Right.
That's a completely different story. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it's kind of crystal clear about this kind of question, yeah. But yeah, still in conclusion, is all about having professional and exactly those consultants and designers know what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you're betting, it's like, I believe the construction is like, it's pretty much like investing in stocks.
Right.
You do not invest in a bad stock that will lose. When you invest into a stock, you want to try and invest into the right stock to give you the return. You know exactly what should be the return, and that's what you should have. I believe that construction firms are exactly the same. You invest into a lot of money into this team, into this firm, and at the end of the day, they need to give you the return of investment. Not, again, if there is something above and beyond, good for you. But you should get everything as per the contract, as per the agreement that you have with the company, without hassles, without issues, without any, he said, she said, and without any miscommunications.
Right. Because actually, I do have another question here, but it's not based on those on the list. It's more like, how do you define and what kind of questions you should ask to designer, construction company, consultant company to define whether they are professional or not? I'm just wondering. For example, if I want to have my own place, right? What kind of questions should I ask? And to know, like those people.
Awesome question.
Yeah, those people. Okay, I can define. Oh, he's pretty good. Amateur, professional.
I'll tell you what. I think that over the years of me doing that, I found that good companies would not worry about giving you information.
Nice.
They would share as much as they can with you in order to make sure that you're a happy client, to avoid miscommunications, to avoid misunderstandings.
Right.
Okay? I would find that bad companies, and that's basically based on me talking to clients over those years, over many, many years, bad companies
trying to hold.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of clients that actually moved towards our company because of situations. One actually very important situation is client called me and they tell me, Max, we were working with this company, but they said that they're in permits, it's 7 months in, and we don't
Still
have any
haven't-
answers.
7 months.
And
Wow.
then, and they're
That's a
asking
long
us,
time.
what can I do to understand what's going on? And then you go online, which is very simple, and you find that the application was not even open. Yeah. Yeah.
But why this happen? Because they forgot to.
Another situation that happened,
Like-
a contractor, and that's actually a real story
Mm-hmm.
of somebody who will probably watch this podcast and see this example. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
A very close friend of mine during COVID decided to build a pool.
A bit of pool.
They were
Okay.
charged approximately $85,000 to build this pool, something like that. That doesn't matter. During COVID, everything was very expensive. People were sitting at home. So pool is something that was done a lot
Right.
in certain areas of the city. So this contractor, who was very known in the neighborhood during that time,
Okay.
he collected a lot of jobs. And they were one of his clients. What happened was, all of a sudden, one day, the pool stopped. And they called him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there next week." Okay. Next week comes, they came in, put couple of stones.
And that's it.
They call him again. What's going on? When are you going to come in? Next week. To make a long story short, when you pay somebody a lot of money, not fully, but 60 grand, 40 by that time,
Yeah.
now you're depending on them. You don't want to lose that money.
Right.
So you, as a homeowner, you have to keep trusting them, hoping that they will do the best. And this is the biggest mistake because you get yourself into more. You're digging a bigger hole with that. And then the contractor came in and he's like, "Well, I need more money to buy more equipment." Okay.
Wow.
And that all happened. And eventually, they called me in and I had a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I explained to them that, listen, guys, you're not going to get your money back. They're like, "What are you talking about? He's working all over the neighborhood." I said, "Yes, the only problem is that while COVID started, he invested the money probably in some personal renovations and he doesn't have the money to finish the renovation." And the
This
answer
is
was,
so
"Max, what are you
bad.
talking about? He has a lot of money, all those deposits." Anyways, to make a long story short, that's what a bad contractor is. Eventually he disappeared. Eventually they had to take him to court because, what do you do as a contractor when you're behind and you have no money?
Exactly.
You sign up more clients to get money to cover the other jobs. And then you get
yeah.
yourself more and more into trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So with that being said, those people, this is actually an example for people who may be in this situation and hoping that they can recover some cost or get that done. No, usually with this kind of contractor, you want to stop it as fast as possible before you lost more and move away
Yeah,
and get
more.
somebody else to finish the job.
Right.
But with that being said, that's what a bad contractor is. Usually they will not share information with you. They will not show up, but that happens to everybody, but they will
Right.
also not tell you when they will show up.
And they'll never
When
let
you-
you know, like, when will the projects actually finish, right?
Sorry, say it again?
I mean, yeah, like bad contractor,
Mm-hmm.
right? They said, "Oh, okay, I'll come in next week and have to finish some work next week again." But I feel like they'll kind of never let you know when will the actual work be finished.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Which is really unacceptable. And eventually this friend of mine, they were building a pool over almost 2 years.
2
That's,
years.
That's unacceptable. And
It's already
funny
over.
enough, their neighbors,
It's already over.
and funny enough, their neighbors
Yeah.
finished their pool within 4 months with a normal contractor.
Oh,
Pool, landscaping, and everything in the backyard.
Wow.
Imagine, and you're sitting there with an empty piece of metal in your backyard,
like some stones in
and waiting
inside and
until
waiting.
somebody gonna come back, and do. Yeah, this is so. So you need to understand the hints, and usually, what I'm also telling people, whatever you feel, usually it's correct.
Right.
You're trying to feed yourself the idea of, okay, but I paid so much money. I don't want to lose this money. What are we gonna do? Eventually, it's
It will like come back. Yeah.
if it listen, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Wow. So this is how you actually how to dissect and segregate between professional and kind of it's only do like not walking the talk designer contractor, right? Like
yeah. It's funny because it reminds me. A lot of our clients constantly tell me, Max, you talk about it so simple as if it's so easy, but it is easy if you know what you're doing.
yeah.
It's simple if you know what you're doing. If your job is to manage something, if I don't know anything about coding and you do, and you can code a simple game within 20 minutes, and I don't know why I'm talking about coding. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
But you can code something in 20 minutes, and it looks very easy. It just means that you're good at your job. So I guess a professional is someone who makes their job
Looks easy.
look simple. Yes.
And you can
as if
also-
everybody else can do it. When you want to think, oh, I should grab a hammer and start doing it myself, it looks so easy.
right.
That's pretty much what a good contractor is, what a good team of people are. And yeah,
And you can also explain to the person who never even in this kind of industry, and you can just like explain into non-terminology word and let people know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, and also know the process, know the scope, know the deliverables, and what is going to be next, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole
yeah,
breakdown structure,
yeah.
right?
And again,
to a client.
pretty much when you're talking to your client, you talk to them not as if they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to them as if they're just a professional next to you, and you give them all
The information.
the insights.
Right.
And of course, you need to ask them, guys, let me know if this is overwhelming you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking sometimes meetings over
Yeah.
Teams, right, with clients.
Yeah.
And I always ask them, when I'm starting to explain, I would always stop right there thinking to myself, what do they know?
Mm.
And then I would ask, sir or ma'am, are you familiar with zoning bylaws? They would say, yeah, we heard about it. Do you know what setbacks are? Not so much. Then you know where you start. You start from the beginning. If they tell you, yeah, I called the city, I figured that out, I found out that we have some good. So now you're talking to somebody who's a little bit more educated when it comes to zoning bylaws and setbacks, right? So if this is the approach, and you need to understand that you have somebody in front of you that is smart enough to understand, but
Right.
is not knowledgeable, you give all the information, and that's, I believe, what a good contractor
So
should
it's
do.
all based on the client, like what's the knowledge base, right?
Of course, because I'm not going to be like a broken record, just giving you information that
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
or don't need.
Right.
Why
Yeah,
would
that's
I do
true.
that? My job is
That's
not
true.
to make you fall asleep as a client,
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
or get bored. My job is
Let's
to
be
actually
more
make sure-
efficient. Yeah,
Yeah.
make it more efficient
Yeah.
and let people know.
Yeah,
This is our service right now, and
yeah. You're
Now,
you're
yeah.
not being shy to ask. How far do you know, so that I know how to talk to you, how to be with you on the same mindset,
right,
on the same
Right.
page.
right on. So, sorry, amateur question, but just
Go for it.
just kind of curious about it. So how do we find? So how about your clients? Like, what kind of clients do you mostly encounter? Like educated or kind of non-educated, or it's kind of spread out?
Great
Just-
question.
Yeah, just kind of like asking, because I do believe you may be encountered quite a few, kind of savvy like construction.
Yes.
I don't even know this is
Which, by the way,
a
are,
word,
believe it or not,
construction
the best
savvy, right? Like clients, and they're like, oh, I know you better. I'm just kind of asking you a question, and once you reply your answer, they'd be like, this, So yeah, I'm just kind of asking about, what kind of clients you encounter the most, and you know?
So I'll tell you what. First of all, I love clients that did their homework. I love it. The reason is, I'm going to tell you, if you are a straightforward, crystal clear contractor that have nothing to hide, everything you're going to tell those people, you actually confirm what they know. So you don't need to go there and, sell yourself and explain too much and worry about anything. They already know that. They just want to make sure that you know that.
Right.
Right? So when you are talking to a client that did their homework and more savvy about the information, it's actually much, much simpler.
Right. Because you don't have to explain
Yes.
from the very bottom.
Not really. You're still going to explain a lot of things, but they will confirm to themselves that you know what you're talking about because they did their research, right?
And they'll know whether you are a professional or not.
Exactly. And if you're coming there as a contractor and he's like, well, listen, the homeowner, for example, wants to remove a load-bearing wall in their house. Okay? Again, we're going with something small.
Okay.
And you tell them, yes, we can remove this wall. We'll see how we're going to do it. We can, yes. Well, we're going to do engineering with... This kind of homeowner will not be confident with you because they probably met more people and they know how it needs to be done. And this other contractor, let's say from Acadia, came in and told them, well, listen, this wall holds right now, let's say the second floor, or if it's a bungalow, the roof of the ceiling of your house, and also some members that holding the roof of your house.
Right.
In order to remove this, I would put a beam right here,
Right.
or I would put a beam cross right. And as soon as you give them this kind of information, they're like,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what the other guy told us.
Yeah.
He's good. And now pretty much more information you know, more information you share about how it's done, municipalities and all that kind of stuff, you get more credibility. Now, take that formula of that kind of client, put together with the client that understands that maybe if I don't want to get in trouble, I should get a reputable firm, and that's where the match is there.
Right.
And again, the last project that we went to, you remember,
Yeah.
our client David, we're pretty much at this point, we done the job, and we were standing there pretty much laughing with each other like
Enjoying.
buddies.
Yeah.
This is the idea,
Right.
And this what makes me pumped. That's what makes me happy. And that's what makes me keep doing what we're doing.
Right.
And this is why I do believe that this information has to go out to homeowners out there to make sure that they all understand how to find the right consultant.
Right.
Now, mind you, you will always find the percentage of people that will try to save on the wrong stuff. But it's perfectly fine. They're just not your client. You need to understand that when you are coming to a client, it's an interview.
Right.
But what you forget that it's a two-sided interview.
They also interview you to know.
And I interview them whether
Yeah.
I want them as a client. Right? If we are a company that want to accomplish things with minimum amount of issues on budget, without hiccups, you need a client that wants the same things as well.
Right.
You don't need a client that will, that will argue with you about, oh, that wasn't discussed. Oh, this wasn't discussed. Oh, because you have a proposal
Arduous.
or of a half a page.
Right.
Our proposal, you've seen, our proposal is like,
like
13,
like
14
this.
pages, every proposal, just for a residential project.
Right.
Again, some people going to get intimidated by it. And some people are going to say, wow, great. If we actually read through it, the guy is writing down what kind of fasteners he's going to use,
Right.
So nothing is in the air. Nothing is to be asked. Everything is known,
Right.
So again, just the same as when you invest in the stock market. You don't invest in a company if you don't know the company.
Right.
You have to do the research. You have to understand the background. You have to make sure that this company is,
It's professional enough.
professional,
To,
transparent, and only then you invest your money in this company.
right.
construction is a huge investment.
So, yeah, invest into the right person, like consultants, designing company. It's not only save up your money, but also a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time, for
Yeah.
sure.
Listen, if I were to tell you that I need you to invest $400,000 into the stock market
Right.
without checking company's background, would you do that?
Of course not. Of course not.
Why would you want to do it in construction? Just because they're a little bit cheaper than the next company? And
Yeah.
people, for some reason, do not understand this concept. You are a businessman. You are an investor. You are going to invest in a team of 20, 30 people, depending what you're doing, that is going to be managing your money.
Right. Exactly. The same concept. Exactly the same concept of
Yeah.
selecting ETF, whatever, and you
Yeah.
know, getting some dividend back.
And this, as soon as people gonna get people gonna get into this mindset, understanding this, realizing that, you know, we're not just building something, we're hiring employees that are going to
Kind of
work
Yeah.
with our money,
right.
that are going to spend our money. How they're going to spend this money? It's going to be up to them. It's like hiring a CEO for a company. It's like hiring, like a set of employees for a company.
Right.
It's exactly the same thing.
Right on.
So the question is, do you want to hire an employee that is asking for less per hour, but fire them 3 months later losing the money? Or do you want to hire somebody maybe a couple of bucks more per hour, but making sure that they're doing their job 100%?
And bring more value.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you won't piss off.
Definitely.
You won't piss off. That's the whole point.
And of course,
Make it
communication.
efficient. Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah.
Do you want your contractor to be like, oh, not now, I'm busy? Or do you want your contractor to be, there for you, to explain everything, to make sure that everything works? Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
that's
Speaking
pretty
about
much it.
communication, I feel like this is the reason why we shoot this episode. Is
Yes.
basically about communicating
and hopefully
to
many more.
viewers, right?
Yes.
To our viewers, to educate
Yes.
you guys, to know more about like the thing and what kind of pitfall you should be avoid
Yes.
in applying for permit or whatever, choosing the right contractors, right designer, consultant like us. We are basically doing the whole process, the whole services. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Right. So
We do everything just like Amazon from A
yeah,
to Z.
to Z. Yeah.
Many people don't really know. You don't really know what Amazon's logo actually, means. The arrow
wait.
on it.
Yes.
That means from A to Z. People look at it as a smile, but the arrow means we give you everything from A to Z. You do
from
all
top to
your
bottom.
shopping with us.
This is my first time knowing it. Wait.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, there's a little like smile down there, right?
Yeah, it's not a smile, it's an arrow.
But it's like
It's an arrow.
yeah, it's an arrow.
It's an arrow.
Exactly, like from
Yeah.
A to Z.
If we could, we should definitely put it.
But
put
we
it-
are from A to A though.
put it somewhere. We'll give some free advertisement to Amazon as well.
Yeah,
but we should definitely put the logo for people to see.
Oh
and
yeah,
to
like
understand.
sponsored. We're being sponsored. No, I'm kidding.
We can only wish.
yeah, we're from A
anyways.
to A. Like,
Yeah.
we are stay
By
the
the way,
stay the same.
do you know what this
Acadia
actually
mean?
represents? And why do you have a dot in this A and a line there and nothing there?
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Can I guess? Because, I mean, when I first see the logo, right? It's like I and A is like black color, and the red one is right in the middle. It's CAD. Is it represent Canada?
No.
No.
As much as I would love to.
Yeah, it's like
But no.
CAD, right?
So I'll tell you what this logo actually represents.
Okay.
There are a few things in this logo. First of all, Acadia without anything inside, Acadia with the dot and Acadia finished, is the process of construction.
Oh.
You start with nothing, you build, and you get to the end
Okay.
to the end result. This is number one. The CAD, many people unfortunately think that Acadia is thinking all they
we're
think about is
facing Canada.
money. All they think about is money, Canadian dollars. No. That's not what CAD is all about. So for those who don't know, Acadia many, many years ago started as a drafting company. Okay? It started by me
Right.
and another I wouldn't say co-founder. I was the founder, but I did
other
have a
investor
person
kind of?
started with me,
Okay.
which I love very much, but he's not with us in Acadia anymore. But yeah, we started as a drafting firm, and CAD is just a shortcut of AutoCAD,
Oh, okay.
right?
Right.
CAD drawings, computer
CAD
aided design. Okay, so computer aided design.
Design.
This is why it's red, because after all these years that we're doing a lot, we're doing design and build, and we are all over the place.
Right.
I always look at this logo and I remember where we
The
belong,
time you
where
established.
we belong, what we started, what we represent, and why, by the way, we are better is because we are familiar with all that. How we don't just build. We are there during design. We're there during permits. We are there during
Construction.
submitting everything to the city.
Right.
We're there during construction. Therefore, we know this is something that all those things for design, you would find a separate company. For permits, you would find a separate company. For applications, most of architects don't want to deal with applications.
Right.
You would find a separate company. Build, of course, you would find a builder for that. When you pay a lot of companies separately, usually you pay more.
Right.
And you also need to communicate a lot of information between 4 different entities, which kind of gives you the bigger space for errors, which luckily in Acadia, not happening a lot
Right.
because the team is together. Every construction that we're having, we have in on-site and off-site meetings
Right.
that we discuss everything and making sure that we are on the schedule, on the budget,
Yeah,
and everything,
on schedule,
and everything
right.
else. Yes.
So wow, this whole concept. I really like the one you mentioned about without the dot, with the dot, and the full A, right?
From
It's like
A to Z,
from A
the
to-
same same
Yeah.
concept.
From like A with I can call it a column or like
A
theme.
is when you're in design. A with
During.
the dot is when you are in build, and the finished A
Finish
is where
A.
you're actually done with the design, with
This is-
with the build.
This is incredible, and now we are basically on air.
Yeah, yeah.
Little
Yeah,
exclamation mark right there, like on air. Exclamation mark. Yes, we are.
we are. on
we
there.
are. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm really appreciate it. You can, just invite me on the first episode and reshooting and asking you quite a few. How many questions I ask? Like 8, 7?
I don't know.
Around roughly.
But
I
I'll
asked
tell you one
roughly
thing.
a 6, 7,
All
right?
of them
And
were amazing.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much for being here with me, for co-hosting this
Yeah.
episode.
First episode.
That was awesome.
Right.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody who actually tuned in to watch it. I hope you had fun, and
Yeah.
I hope that was interesting enough for you. But as I said before, and as I'm always gonna say now that we finished with it, back to work. Thank you very much.